And we are live. Welcome to the Political Orphans. My name is Nico Lagan, and I'm the in-house conservative. Normally, we have Rob in the house. That's our token lefty, but he seems to be having microphone or headphone issues. So we'll get started. We'll wait for him to show up. But as always, him and I are looking at what is trending in the news. Our goal is simple. We want to show you that people from the left and people from the right can actually get along. And even if we disagree, we can still get along because common sense has no political affiliation. On that note, guys, interact with us. Comment on what we're talking about. Give us your opinion. We want to know what you think because at the end of the day, we do it live so that we can interact with you. So for the people that are joining, if you're wondering why I'm the only one here, it's because Rob is having issues right now. He just installed a new camera and now I think his headphones are not working. So we'll give him a couple of minutes to join back. But until then, the people that are showing up, tell me how you guys are doing. Tell me what you guys would like us to speak about. Tell us or tell me what is in the news that you have an opinion on. So don't be shy. Hit the comments. Tell us what you're thinking. Rob's going to get ready. He's going to join us very soon. But until then, I want to hear from you guys. Tell me tell me what's bothering you in the news right now, because there are things that are going on. We talk about what we want to talk about, but we want to know what you guys are thinking too. So, Mr. Rob, can you finally hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yep. It's about fucking time, bro.
Yeah, we're good. I don't know. It's the new technology. I can't keep up. I had to get my grandfather down here to fix my setup for me. So
not your mother?
No. She
hey, Jody.
Yeah, Joe's busy today.
All good, but definitely looking better though. Not at least the quality of the
screen.
Well,
unfortunately, because the webcam's better now, you can really see the full effect. I can't hide behind the blur anymore. Yeah.
Nope.
This is me.
At least I was able to do the intro without you interrupting. So you not being there was kind of a blessing in disguise.
So maybe that's what we'll do from now on. I'll just jump in at the last minute.
So how you doing? It looks a lot better, man.
Yeah, the camera looked a lot better. Could you see me like fighting for it though? I was in freak out mode over here. Just
you weren't on stage, so it didn't show. Like you appeared at the bottom, but there's so many other. Oh, hold on, it's confusing. Okay, hold on. See, there you go. Just for you, Miriam. Just for you. The reason I did that is because Miriam is telling us that it's weird to have Rob on the right side. He's a leftist. Should always be on the left. Hey, you know what? That was a happy accident. I never did that on purpose. That's how it was. And now you're muted, bro. You mute yourself. You and technology are not friends. But Miriam, that's fucking brilliant. I never got that before. It was a total accident, but you're absolutely right. It makes 100% sense. Rob should always be on the left and I should be on the right. Good call. Very good call. Man, Rob and technology do not agree with each other at all. At all. It's surprising that he's been able to build a social media platform without understanding how technology works. That tells you how easy that technology is supposed to use, right? That's the whole point. So until he comes back, I don't know what the hell he's doing, but he's taking his sweet ass time. But until then, I'm not going to let you just wait there until he shows back up. I'm going to start showing you. I'm going to start talking about what we wanted to talk about today. So we have 4 or 5 things on the menu. I'm actually hoping that we can go through it. I doubt it because we never tend to go through everything we want to speak about. But let's at least introduce it. So today there's a few things I wanted to talk about. And by I mean Rob and I. We want to talk about Doge and the mandate that they were given by Trump yesterday. We're going to talk about USAID funding both sides of the mainstream media. So not just the left, not just the right, but actually both sides. We're going to give you a Gaza update because we're always going to be looking at what's going on in Gaza. And I found 3 videos that are funny videos, at least from my perspective, because it makes fun of the left. It makes fun of the woke left, especially. So for the people that are just joining us, Rob is going to come. He's going to come back on the feed. It's just that he has a new camera and he doesn't understand how technology works. So his microphone was working, but his headphones weren't working. His camera was working. He kicked himself out and now he's back on. Oh, wow. Finally, Rob is back on. And as Miriam said, we will swap left to right to make sure that we are on the proper placement. Rob, what are you doing?
What? Can you...
We can hear you. We can definitely hear you. You know what? Screw Rob. Let's get started on this. Let's get started. Let's actually get started on this because Rob trying to get back on and back off. Here we go.
Right. Well, we do find it sort of rather odd that there are quite a few people in the bureaucracy who have ostensibly a salary of a few $100,000, but somehow manage to accrue tens of millions of dollars in net worth while they are in that position, which is, what happened to USAID. We're just curious as to where it came from. Maybe they're very good at investing, in which case we should take their investment advice, perhaps. But just there seems to be mysteriously they get wealthy. We don't know why. Where does it come from? And I think the reality is that they're getting wealthy at the taxpayer expense. That's the honest truth of it. So, we're looking at, we just.
So, if you heard what Elon Musk just said here, Doge has been tasked to investigate politicians with a high net worth. What do you guys think about this? Let me know in the comments because I want to know what you guys think. But let me give you just a few numbers just off the bat. Probably the best trader of all time, Nancy Pelosi, is probably exactly who Elon Musk was talking about. And to give you an idea, I don't know if you ever looked at how much she's worth, but it's a bit insane considering that she's making about $250,000 a year. And she is a career politician. She's been in politics for decades. Yet, if we look at her net worth, we're talking around $230 million. I've seen up to 400 million. Like I've seen estimates that were way higher than that. But explain to me how that makes sense. Explain to me how it's okay or it's normal for a politician that's a lifelong politician that has been in politics for decades, who makes about 250 grand a year and is now worth at least $230 million. And that's just Nancy Pelosi. There's a list of people in Congress that are worth, as Elon Musk mentioned, tens upon tens upon tens of millions of dollars. Do you guys think this is normal? Because I don't. I definitely don't. And this applies to both Canada and the US. It's insane. How is it possible for them to be worth that much? But I hope they don't just stop, or they don't stop at inside traders. I hope that they look at everybody that accepted money from Big Pharma, for example. And just to show you what I'm talking about, I found a little list right here that you can actually find for yourself. It is on opensecrets.org. And these are the people that accepted the most money from Big Pharma. Kamala Harris, more than $11 million. Joe Biden, more than $9 million. Barack Obama, more than $6 million. Hillary Clinton, more than $4 million. And one that I want to show because it's like the favorite person.
Are we looking for Bernie Sanders?
Yeah. And Bernie Sanders is just under $2 million. So this is the top
only
20.
Only 2 million.
Exactly, but he's a communist, right? So
yeah.
You know, but this is the top 20, and don't get me wrong. I hope that they investigate on both sides of the aisle. I really don't give a fuck that you're a Democrat or you're a Republican. If you are worth that much money on a salary of $250,000 a year, there's something wrong, and you should get investigated. And I'm very happy that that's exactly what Trump asked of Elon Musk yesterday. Do you have an opinion on this? Finally, you're with us. You're ready to work now.
For fun. We're good now. It took a while.
Since that one's for you.
I know, Miriam. I know that one's on me. So I got a new webcam. You might be able to tell that it looks nicer, but I had it set up. It was all good to go, and then just before it was working last night and this morning, and then it shit the bed. It stopped working my laptop, so I had to sprint it over to my computer, where I'll probably this will be my setup from here on in. But yes, ideally this is done before the show. This one's on me. I'll take.
And it's all bullshit, Miriam. It's all bullshit. It wasn't work. We didn't test it before.
No, me. No. Not me exactly. And you. Me though. Me. I've it was working earlier.
You didn't test it. Yeah, but you didn't test it with me.
Well, not with you.
You want to lower your camera so that you don't appear even smaller that you actually are in real life. Yeah. Oh, bro.
Savage.
Fuck! If you're gonna mess up that bad and Miriam making fun of you, I'm gonna jump on the train.
When the audience is dragging me, I guess I gotta eat that one for sure. But we are good. Penises? Yeah. Well, that's Bernie Sanders. Only $2 million is the only one penis for politicians.
That's true. It's an expensive one. It was a big black veiny one, but it is
the BBM.
What do you think? No, in that case, it's a BBC.
The BBC.
Yeah. Definitely a BBC. But what do you think of those numbers? Because Nancy Pelosi, we've spoken about her before, right?
Yep. I mean, it's when we talk about before, it clearly there's just no other explanation. There's no innocent explanation, right? There may be some scenarios where if it was just a couple, you could say, well, who knows? Maybe they got lucky. But if almost every single member of Congress and Senate comes out enormously more wealthy than they went in, I mean, there's some serious questions, and I don't even think it's illegal per se. I bet you it's just one of those things where they have legalized corruption. Like, as far as I know, they are allowed to trade stocks. Correct? That, to me, that should be a no-brainer.
They're allowed to trade stocks, but there's supposed to be restrictions on inside trading. Mm-hmm. Yet, like, you look, and Nancy Pelosi speaks for herself, right? You look at what she's worth, it makes no sense. But then you can go to a Joe Biden. 10 years ago, Joe Biden was worth less, like he was in the hole by almost $1 million. Now he's worth more than 10 after he's become president. And that is the money we know about, right? Because we all know that they're pervious to information that we don't know about. They sit on boards where they know where the next policies are going to go or what the next policies are. And that allows them to look at what's going on and say, oh, Nancy Pelosi being the best example. You can look at Gavin Newsom's another great example of inside trader. That I'll say inside trader, and this is my opinion because it hasn't been proven, but it does not look good. And I'm very happy to see Doge hitting that, because if you ask me, this is the most important. I don't say that it's more important than USAID, for example, but God, it's on the same level. It's on the same level, because what is going to happen, and we're going to have to wait and see for that one, but what's a big chance is going to happen is the fact that they're going to start to see that a lot of the money that was sent to USAID, that was sent overseas, like to Ukraine, for example, is getting funneled back to the pockets of people here.
That's what it seems like.
Yep, I agree. I totally agree. I don't know if your camera's frozen, bro, but you ain't moving right now. And here we go again. Oh boy, I totally agree with you earlier, Miriam. You should always test this stuff way prior to recording, but it's okay because my setting is working. Fortunately or unfortunately for you guys, you're stuck with me. So let's continue.
Yeah, Miriam, we are. This is
Yeah.
we like to keep our fights private, but this is our first public spat.
No, it's not. It's not the first. It's gonna be it's not gonna be the last. I can guarantee you that. Right. So as long as it's done politely and we make fun of Rob, it makes sense.
Yeah. As long as it sticks over here. My girlfriend's gonna have a field day with this today, because she's always like, "Oh, old man can't figure out technology," and chirping me. So here's me fumbling with my new webcam.
Well, man, next time you should probably ask your mother and your girlfriend to set it up for you.
Mm-hmm. I think that's it sounds like sage advice. I'm sure she'll agree with you.
You know what you should tell her, that you're just a talent. You shouldn't have to deal with this.
I'm just the eye candy here. I'm not like Nico's the brains. I'm just the eye candy here.
I should not have to deal with this shit. When I show up, it should be working.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
I want only green M&Ms in a bowl. For bottles of Patron on ice. That's my rider. That's what I demand.
That's probably exactly why politicians are making that much money. It's for requests like that, and people just keep on giving it to them. But let's see where this goes, because we talked about this yesterday, and this is definitely something I'm looking forward to doing. But going through everything Doge is doing right now, and see how they're saving money, and this is definitely one of them that we should be doing this. I think we'll do it next Friday. I think that's what we should do. Like next Friday, take a couple hours to go through it.
Oh yeah,
because it's going to be a 1 month anniversary of Doge being in place. But man, those numbers are not good. Like the numbers I shared are not good. They don't look good. And how are you allowed to accept that much money? I hope they get into that. I hope that they don't not only go through where they got the money from, but why is it even possible? Like, how is this happening time and time again, where we see those numbers all over the place? Like, that's just big pharma. Imagine what else. Like, imagine, let's say the NRA. I'm a gun fan, so let's shoot on the other side of the aisle too. How much money has people in Congress on the Republican side are taking from the NRA? As much as I stand for the Second Amendment, to me, the First and Second Amendment are musts. How much money? Because I want to make sure that people understand. I'm not just looking at the Democrats. It just turns out that it seems that Democrats are taking more money from big pharma than Republicans were. I'm not saying that they're not taking money from other places, but I'm happy that they're investigating it, and hopefully this does not become a Democrat witch hunt. It actually goes both sides of the aisle. Whoever you represent, we don't care. Just want to know how you made your money.
That's right. I think with the numbers that you gave, it's kind of like, if you walk down the street and there's a dead body with a knife in their back, that a crime occurred. You know what I mean? Like, there's no doubt about that. Now it's just a matter of solving it. But like when you see those kind of numbers, without knowing anything else, that serious corruption has occurred. And then it's just a matter of figuring out. And it doesn't even sound like it's that big of a brilliant mastermind or anything. It just sounds like they're trading on information that they are privy to because of their positions in select committees and whatnot. And anybody can do that. If you had that kind of information, anyone could be a Warren Buffett, right? I actually don't believe that Nancy Pelosi is one of the world's greatest investors. You know what I mean? I don't think that the Congress is just by some fantastic coincidence, just completely made up of the most brilliant traders and investors that stretches the limits of credulity. And so, a crime has occurred, there's corruption. So it probably isn't even that hard to find.
I really like Miriam. I'm really happy that you're here.
Is she dragging me still?
Yeah, she's ripping into you. She's saying I'm on her side too. So she's probably talking about your girlfriend.
Yeah, she'll love this.
You really suck with technology. Miriam, your comments anytime, they're always welcome. We appreciate your comments. Good for you. Good for you for speaking the truth.
Well, I would say I love having Miriam talk, although I might maybe excluding today all the dragging. I'm gonna have a lot of rug burns on my back from all the dragging. But to be fair, it's well deserved. I should have had that shit sorted out before we came up here. However, it's it's all about forgiveness today, right?
It's like that every day, bro.
Right?
For me, it's like that every day, bro. I forgive people.
Take accountability. Move on. No.
I know. I never forget.
If we're doing the show 20 years from now, you'll still be, hey, you remember that time back when we first started the show?
I don't forget those things, and I'll bring them back eventually. Headley Man BC, what's going on, brother?
What's happening, bro?
And yes, I just assume your gender. If you have man in your name, I assume you're a bro.
But he did a pink wave, so you never know if it's pink.
Probably because it's probably because he was saying hi to you.
yeah, get it in.
Yeah, that's what she said. On that note, yeah, there's another video that I found this morning that is an older video. Like, this is a video from probably 2022, like pandemic time, like around
just right at the end.
The COVID time, exactly. And it was just showing something very interesting that today, because of what Doge is doing and because of USAID, what we're starting to see where the investment money was, this video makes so much more sense today than it did back then. But I found it interesting, so let's play it. Tell me what you think afterwards.
1,000 journalists and 700 newsrooms received USAID money. It's a wonder all of them parrot the same news. Roll it.
Our greatest responsibility is to serve our Treasure Valley communities,
the El Paso, Las Cruces communities,
Eastern Iowa communities,
Mid-Michigan community.
We are concerned about troubling irresponsible, one-sided news stories plaguing our country.
False news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publishing the things that simply aren't true without checking facts first.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
And some of you still turn it on at night. Jonathan, did you hear what the news is saying about you in Pittsburgh? Good. If these people were on my side, I'd be nervous. Now, you see why they were trying to get everybody shut down on Twitter and Facebook? Because the news is completely controlled until these platforms came out. So then anybody that broke any news that wasn't approved there, they shut you down. We were this close to being finished. And now it's a new dawn.
You know, I discovered that guy this morning. I was just browsing on my Instagram, looking for news, seeing what people were talking about, found this guy. And I love what he says. If the news are talking about me, that's okay. Like,
yeah, if they're saying good things, I'm worried. It's funny.
Yeah, exactly.
That was such a, that was a classic example of, show me, don't tell me what they did there. You know what I mean? Like, you can say, all the media, moves in lockstep, or they're just reciting talking points. But to see it like that, it's pretty.
ABC and Fox.
Yeah.
The first two images was way left, way right. So there's no bullshit as to, this was a left thing. No. And I don't know if you remember, I should have looked for it, but I don't want to get in trouble on the feed because when you approach that subject, it's dangerous. But there was a video about a certain company from a big pharma company that starts by and finishes by Zer. And they showed exactly that. This episode has been brought to you by and it did not matter that it was CBC, CBS. It didn't matter that it was that it was Fox. Same thing. They made the same video as this. But did you hear what he said at the beginning? That hundreds of journalists and mainstream media platforms have received money from USAID. So this is something that hopefully Doge, again, I hope Doge doesn't approach it from a political standpoint and don't go after Fox. If this is true, what that guy is saying, that this is what's being discovered right now, I hope that Trump is good.
You hope he does go after Fox. Yeah.
100%. I hope, let's not make this about political parties. Let's make this about corruption. Let's make it about exposing what people are doing. The fact that you're a Republican or a Democrat, I could not give two shits. Doesn't matter to me. If you're right, you're right. If you're wrong, you're wrong. And if you're wrong, you need to get exposed for it because you work for us, not the other way around.
That's right. I mean, it's something we hammer on the show a lot. Is we don't really give a shit, what side you're on. We're both going to criticize it. I would say, me and you, like, I probably criticize the left the most on the show, or at least as much as you, just like you probably criticize the right just as much as me. I mean, we obviously have our sort of instinctive takes or our positions that we start from, but other than that, there's no sacred cows here. If it's wrong, we're going to call it out, period.
But I'm happy to see Doge going after politicians. That makes me very happy. It's like Christmas in February for me. Then you have this, a guy like him, that hopefully the information that he has is accurate, but his stuff is pretty solid. It's called Let's Talk News or something like that. I never heard of them before today, but that's all they do. They play clip from the news and they kind of criticize or go after what they're saying. Seems like great content. Before we go to our daily update on Gaza, I want to know what you guys think. What do you think about Doge going after politicians? What do you think about USAID paying both sides of the aisle? So it didn't matter. They went after, they provide, it seems, at least allegedly right now, they paid people from CBS and Fox. And as you saw, that old video is probably 2 years old, maybe more. I'm saying 2 years because it's at least 2 years old. But it is clearly showing that they had footnotes. This is what you're going to say on the news. This is when you're going to say live. And the message did not change if it was CBS or if it was Fox. It was the same message. The area changed as in where they're recording from, but the rest exactly the same. What do you guys think about that? Do you think that the mainstream media can be trusted? Can they be trusted again? Well, you know what? This is the question I have for you guys. Can you ever trust mainstream media again after seeing things like that? And same question to you, Rob. Can you trust them? Will you ever be able to trust them again?
Yeah, I mean, I would be able to trust a media property that came out and started behaving in a way that deserves trust, right? I understand that institutions are, they're not like people, like they don't have a character. They may have a culture in the moment, but that can change, right? So you could certainly say the culture of the media over the last certainly couple of years has just been one of the, behavior that destroys trust, narrative pushing. But if especially if there's a specific turning point, like let's say, I don't know, some major media property, I don't know, the New York Times or Washington Post or, CBS News or Fox News sort of comes in, a new person comes in with a mandate of regaining the public's trust, sort of has a come to Jesus moment, sort of, saying, here's what you want to see. Here's what we did wrong over the past couple of years. We got away from our primary job of informing the audience, and we stopped teaching you guys or telling you guys what's going on, and we started telling you how to think. And if you see that, if I see that kind of accountability, and then I see behavior afterwards that backs that up, then yeah, I could trust them again. I think in addition to the question that you would ask the audience, I would add a small twist to it. I would say, what context would it be okay for a government agency to pay large sums of money to a media property? Is there an innocent explanation? I mean, I'm not saying there is. I don't think there is. I can't see it, but I have thought about it. I've tried to find one, and I can't. I really cannot. Like, I know people say, "Oh, it's a subscription to Political Pro that's $85,000 per shot." Okay, well, A, why do they need 50 of them? And B, what the fuck? Like, tell me, like, you can't just say, "Oh, it's a special, it's a special membership fee or something." You can't just say that and expect me to be like, "Oh, okay, tell me why." Like, specifically, what justifies that kind of a cost? Because to me, it just looks like flat out, corruption and money laundering. It's kind of like, I actually don't believe that Hunter Biden is an artist of a sufficient skill to be selling his paintings for hundreds of thousands of dollars. And yet he did that, right? The thing about art is it's subjective. He literally just throws some slop on a piece of paper and someone gives him $400,000 for it with a hint, wink, wink. And, oh, by the way, I want you to talk to your dad about this thing that I want next time I see it. I mean, that is how corruption works. So to say that, oh, it was for a special Politico membership, it doesn't fly. I'm sure that it was. I have no doubt that they created a special membership. They maybe even made a brochure for it, but it's not real, Like that is not how the world works. That is how corruption works. So, I mean, I guess if someone's going to say that, yeah, this is okay, I mean, give me an example, a specific example of a scenario where there would be value or where is an explanation. Like there are some scenarios you could imagine where money could change hands. For example, let's say the US government wants to fly reporters out to cover, I don't know, a peacekeeping mission or a war or something. There will be cost to that. Maybe the US military would pay for the transportation, food or whatever. But if that's the case, explain that to me and I can understand that. But to just give a sack with a dollar sign on it to in a backroom deal and say, oh, it's for a special membership, that's not going to fly. You're going to have to come up with something better.
I don't think there's any time at all that it's acceptable. Never. The government should not be providing money to media outlets. They shouldn't. If they can't survive by themselves, let them die.
Oh, no, I agree. I 100% agree. They should not be giving money. I just meant maybe if there's a service rendered that could make sense.
It's the same thing. Like, what? Okay, so if that's the case, that means that you need to make it either a lottery where separate people are chosen, or you need to make it across the board. This is where it stops working, because if you're saying that means I'm media too, as a social content, like as a content creator, that means I'm media. I want the government to pay for my shit to go. No, but do you know what I'm saying? Say, where do you draw the line? It's either you do or you don't. I don't think they should do it whatsoever. If the news is to be covered, they're going to find a way to do so. If not, you're not the right person to actually report on the news. And the government should not have his hands in funding any money transferring to mainstream media. Just look at what happens in Canada. Like the US are going crazy about this, but yet in Canada, CBC, the biggest news broadcasting platform in Canada by a mile, is receiving and has been receiving since 2018 $1.2 billion every year, between 1.2 and 1.4. Their budget for 2024-2025 is $1.4 billion. That is literally, last time I checked, they did less than $450 million in revenue. So they need almost 1.6 to 1.8 billion dollars to run, and 75% of that, almost 60-ish 5% of that, is provided by the government. And you just go see what they talk about. They never criticize Trudeau. Every time they have a guy like Pierre Poilievre, they're trying to make him look stupid. Don't even consider having a guy like Maxime Bernier on that show. But you know what I'm saying, right? You can clearly see that there is an agenda on the type of news that they're producing, yet they're sponsored. They're not even sponsored by the government. They're fucking kept alive by the government. It's not even funding anymore.
So I got a few things to say on that. I would say I broadly agree with you with the CBC. Now, I think there is a role for something like the CBC, and there's a huge but, I think that role does not include news. If you remember growing up as kids in Canada, do you remember a lot of the shows that you'd watch on CBC? Like there is value for a national broadcaster that's funded by the government. That, I don't know if you heard their tagline for CBC used to be telling our stories ourselves or something like that, and that has value. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you remember the what's that book or the show, the hockey sweater growing up? You know what I mean? Like it's just a classic story, a slice of Canadiana, and I think that kind of stuff does create a sort of broad Canadian identity. Show hockey. Show Canadian-made shows that maybe wouldn't get funded elsewhere, but are relevant to Canada for sure. But when you start getting into news, it's a huge slippery slope, because, like you said, there's clearly. I mean, I'm a lefty, but if I absolutely agree with the argument that if Canadians are funding CBC, then they should not be refusing to talk to any major Canadian politician like Maxime Bernier. He's the head of a major, somewhat major Canadian political party, regardless of how your opinion is of him. If you're funded by the Canadian people, clearly there's a large chunk of Canadian people who support him. They want to hear from him. And so, yeah, I would say I agree with you, certainly on principle, with the idea that there's no place for funded government funded news, because then you're just even if it's a good,
propaganda.
Yeah, because you can say, oh, well, the government's harmless, blah, blah, blah. But who knows what the government's going to be 5 years from now? Who knows it's going to be 10 years, 15 years? People forget, like, Hitler was voted in. He was elected in. Sometimes, in 1925, I'm sure people weren't quite sure or weren't really aware that, what direction their government was heading. You don't want to give the government that kind of power, carte blanche. And so that's that's sort of my take. But it was funny. I just was thinking, as you said there, when we were talking about, we're kind of journalists. I was like, yeah, you know what? Maybe we should create a Political Orphans special membership, $90,000 a pop, and we'll sell 40 of them to the federal government.
but you're laughing, but this is exactly what's happening.
It's exactly what they do. It's funny.
As funny as what you're saying sounds, it is not inaccurate.
No, that's literally what they do.
Miriam, those should for sure bring every corrupt person in government to justice. Couldn't agree with you more. They need to be held accountable, and they need to pay back what they stole, accounting for inflation from the day they stole it, and go to jail. I like the way you didn't say or go to jail. Pay his back and go to jail.
Miriam has had enough.
Miriam's on point today. Miriam,
I'm just happy to have her direct her fire somewhere else.
Yeah. Hold on, she's not done. This should be a major permanent reform and not just a temporary government cuts for 4 years.
Yep.
And not only that, but this should come to light in Canada, Mexico, Europe, South Africa, wherever the fuck you can call, wherever you can think of a government, there should be a third party that is somewhat operating outside the government that is pissing off people. Like, this is one thing I didn't mention. I'm just thinking about it now, but the fact that Elon Musk is pissing off so many people, to me, is a good thing. No matter, we spoke about this yesterday. Elon Musk scares the shit out of me with his technology and wanting to put chips in people's brains with his new Neuralink. But if I remove that from the perspective and just say what he's doing is pissing off people, he's probably doing something that's worth doing. Because if somebody from the outside is investigating the government and everybody's happy, nobody's complaining, he's not really investigating.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And vice versa. The Democrats are complaining to high heaven right now, but you would expect the people who are being investigated for corruption to complain about it. I'm sure people who are. Which side are you on? 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 Not that one. We'll fight against Doge. We'll fight Elon Musk.
Sorry, bro. I had to. I caught this video earlier. I had to show it, but this is your point right there, right?
Yeah, exactly.
This is how they're fighting.
Yeah.
Singing off key, that somehow this is doing something. Maybe you can explain to us what the point of that video was, but
I don't know, man. Like I'm no longer I'm not the lefty whisperer that I think we all want me to be. Like, I look at that and I'm like, what the fuck? What? Come on, guys! Like, grow up, grow the fuck up. They all actually looked fairly advanced in age, so like it's kind of disappointing. You think you would have some wisdom with that age, but I don't know. There's a lot of, we're in crazy times. It's funny. There's a lot of Trump derangement syndrome going on, and I say that as someone who I'm quite open that I don't particularly like Trump, and we've criticized him where it's due, but we won't criticize him just for the sake of it, just because he's Trump. We're going to criticize the things he's doing, and the things he's done so far that have deserved criticism, we've called him out. The things he said that deserve to be, I won't say celebrated, but pointed out. We've done that too, begrudgingly, perhaps. However, credit where it's due.
And one of the things that I firmly believe is they dodged a bullet. Americans dodged a bullet by having Trump as a president, considering what was coming if Kamala Harris was elected, and this video is the perfect example of what I'm talking about. I showed it to you before we jumped on, but this kind of proves your point and my point.
Look, let me tell you something. I'll take a bit of umbrage here. I'll speak on behalf of my colleagues. I think I can say we are all willing to work with anyone who's serious about doing the work of censoring the American people and advancing progress. But they are not serious.
Freudian slip there. I still can't believe she meant to say that. But it's hard to see what else she could have meant. I mean, Miriam, what do you think? Anyone in the audience, tell us what you think she meant there.
You know, hold on. Let me replay it again. We'll just play it a second time.
Look, let me tell you something. I'll take a bit of umbrage here. I'll speak on behalf of my colleagues. I think I can say we are all willing to work with anyone who's serious about doing the work of censoring the American people and advancing progress.
And you know, I posted this video on Instagram this morning. I ran it through my AI software for the auto caption.
Yeah.
And AI is hearing censor
serious about censoring the American people.
So it was not just me.
What an odd thing to say.
Well, it's not really that odd when you think about it, because all she did is say what she was thinking. Because if you look at Kamala Harris, she openly admitted to wanting to censor people. Mark Zuckerberg said that the Harris/Biden administration has put pressure on Meta to censor the American people. You have guys like Justin Trudeau in Canada that wanted to pass Bill C-63, which is literally censorship on social media and online.
Oh,
the only difference. There. Oh yeah, because you know that because the Parliament was put on hold until more. It got canceled. That bill is now
that was a hate crime bill, right? Or hate speech? Hate speech?
Exactly.
Euphemistically, it wasn't actually hate speech. It was control. It was about control.
But what's interesting is that I believe, just like I've heard people like Bill Gates say that it's about population control. I don't know if you saw those slips, or I don't even think in this case they were slips. Again, my opinion, this is for entertainment purposes. But you can see the videos out there of politicians saying things like that. And I think in this case, it is just one of those situations where you say out loud what you were thinking.
She said the quiet part out loud, you think.
And you hear the crowd, it's fucking cricket. There's like one woman that's like, hell yeah. All the rest are like,
censor us harder.
It's pretty ironic that her audience was censored on that one. There was nothing. Like it was just even the crickets were censored on that video.
Fucking zip it.
But it's interesting because you see things like that. So you see the video of the Congress and senators that are singing off key, saying that somehow this is going to fight Doge. You have her that's saying that she's looking for people to censor government. And then you're like, who the fuck voted for those people? Because that's always the question I ask myself. But then I have a video to show you to describe exactly the type of people that voted for this type of government. So listen to this.
Seemed fully aware of my presence in front of their vehicle and proceeded to drive straight towards me. The individual driving the car slowed down and stopped for a couple participants right before reaching me.
That the group essentially surrounded that car. Based on the preliminary information we're hearing, the driver may have gotten very concerned, was confused about what to do in that situation. Some of the individuals may have actually hit the car with their hand.
So these are the type of people that voted for Congress people that are saying that we should censor people. Because if you're at an ICE protest, you shove yourself in front of a car and then you're crying wolf that you got hit by a car.
Yeah.
Sorry, man. Sorry, not sorry.
Nobody gives two shits at all about I that whole thing. And you see it with the Just Stop Oil people. Like, even if you agree with their goals, like what idiotic sort of self-defeating protests. All you do is piss people off. These idiots fucking threw paint on Stonehenge. Fucking Stonehenge? Are you kidding me? Like, who's going to support you when you do shit like that? And it's insane. I think what it actually is a reflection of is just this sort of fundamental narcissism in the left. It isn't even really about the cause they're fighting for. It's about filming yourself fighting for the cause and putting it on Instagram so that everyone can see how virtuous you are and how you're fighting for the cause. Because if you really cared about the cause, you do the real work. You go out there, you try to convince, you try to persuade people. You would try to meet them where they are. You're not going to fucking throw orange paint on Stonehenge. You're not going to fucking, refuse to talk to people or cancel people just because they don't agree with you. It's the behavior of as a group, the left is very just entirely dysfunctional. And I keep bringing it up. Sort of one of my goals is to sort of reform the left. I am a liberal lefty, and I'm not ready to give up on it yet. Now it might be a lost cause. It might be, but I still believe, however naive that might be, that there is a core of liberals who are either outspoken like me or feel the same way, but just don't feel like they can speak about it yet. But once this idea picks up steam, that you don't have to go along with this shit. You don't need to pretend to believe that fucking men can give birth just because you support gay rights, right? There's no necessity for those two things. And the left has done a very good job of brainwashing us into believing that we have. Now, it might all be for nothing, and maybe it's just a total fucking dumpster fire. And 5 years from now, I'll throw in the towel and I'll just, you'll call me a moderate righty or something. But I don't know. I'm still fighting the good fight. Me and Miriam over here.
I don't know. I don't know if Miriam is a lefty.
I actually no. I agree. No, well, me and her talked a little bit.
Centrist.
We talked a little bit on the DMs. I think she said, and you can jump in here, Miriam, but she's from Saudi Arabia, which is quite interesting. And so she said she's very liberal for there, sure. But
which doesn't mean much for here.
Yeah. If you've driven a car as a female, you're far left. You're extreme. That's woke.
Yeah, that's very woke. Yeah,
But I believe just from talking with her, I believe she said she was probably more of a centrist. But yeah, no, I mean it's. I guess I'm still evolving too. I'm sort of in the middle of a political existential crisis that I'm sort of working out on the show here. It's sort of trying to figure it out in real time. This idea of like, because I hear it all the time on Twitter. I'll be like, how do you still consider yourself a liberal? And I'll actually sit and think about it. Like, I don't really know. Maybe is it just because I'm in the habit of it? But I mean, I do agree. I do broadly speaking agree with a lot of the positions that are there. Certainly not. I'm pretty moderate in all my takes, no matter what. Like I do believe I am pro-choice. However, I'm not an absolutist. I think there is there should be restrictions on it. There should be absolutely a point where if it's beyond that point in the pregnancy, that it is illegal to do. And I'm certainly open to the debate to where that point should be. Obviously, you're different. You feel it begins at conception. And as far as I'm concerned, those are both valid points, both valid opinions. And we'll get to a place where hopefully we can find some compromise. But this idea that like, for people to almost fetishize it, like regardless of, I think it is often a necessary evil, but it's never a good thing. You get some of these far left idiots who are like, proud about all the abortions they've had, or, they'll talk about how they'd happily have an abortion at 8 months pregnant. And it's like, motherfucker, like that's not me. Like, that's not my side. Like, how do how it's hard to see. I'm on the same side as these people, but I would say my three biggest things, and I'm not going to go very deeply into these at all, but it would be gender, it would be identity politics, and it would be immigration. Those are the three enormous divergences that I would have as a liberal. And maybe someday we'll talk about those, but probably not now. That's two shows in and of itself.
The thing is, though, I think that you consider yourself a liberal because you have a lot of social, not justice. I'm not sure that social justice is the
I would say, and that term is loaded, so I know what you mean. But I would say, broadly speaking, oriented that way.
You think, because you're Canadian, like so am I.
Yep.
But I've lived spent a lot of time in the US over the past few years, and there are a lot of social programs that I don't believe in Canada. There's some that, I agree with, which is why I'm never going to be a far right person, because I still think that there is a need for social programs.
There's a role
I
somewhere.
think it should be taken all the way down. It shouldn't be, I shouldn't have to pay 55% of my salary in Canada to support other people's bad habits.
Yeah.
My 30 to 40% of income tax should not go towards healthcare that is completely broken, that I don't get to take advantage of because I take care of myself. If I have a problem, I can't get a doctor. So there's a lot of things I agree with, but there's a lot of things that we need to correct. There needs to be more consequences to our social programs in Canada, right?
I could not agree
But
more.
this is the part that I think, this is why you'll always consider yourself a liberal, because compared to Americans, they don't have as many of the social programs.
That's right. Yeah.
For example, one of them that my wife and I talked about quite often recently, because she's pregnant, right? In Canada, you can actually, the government / your employer will pay you a portion of your salary for a year after you gave birth.
Like EI, right? Like
it's a mix of that. It's not free money. That's something that's part of the taxes that you pay when you're working, and it goes towards that.
Yep.
But her and I were talking about this, and I'm like, I understand why it's a good thing. I understand why it could be a good thing, because I'm always going to work. No matter what, I'm always going to be working. I fucking love working.
Yeah.
I'm a man. I love to work. But I would love for my wife to be able to never have to work if that's what she wants to do. And spending that first year with your child makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Now, where I'm able to explain it, let's say to an American, and for the Americans out there, tell me what you think. But a program like that makes sense to me. If we consider that in the States, you need 2.1 kid per family in order to continue to have enough population without having to depend on immigration. So the number is around 2.1. So let's call it 2 for the sake of argument. Why not have a program sponsored by the government, just like it is in Canada, where the government pays a portion of it that's deducted from your taxes, and then your employer pays another portion of it to allow you to make it easier for you to have kids. Once you have those 2 kids, those 2.1 kid, that program you can't take advantage of it. But for those 2 kids, maybe that's what it takes for people to start having kids again. And when you see an uproar in birth, maybe you stop the program or you change it. But this is my point, right? I will never be a far right person, because there are some programs that are sponsored by the government that I believe are necessary, especially if we're lacking kids. Because this is, the same thing with abortion. You and I will always disagree on abortion. But one of the things that I've brought up on my other podcasts often is, let's stop funding abortion and let's take that money and put it towards adoption. Let's make it easier for people to adopt children. Because in Canada and the US, it's extremely hard to adopt. Yet, do you know that in the US right now, there's more kids available than people that are, there's more family waiting to adopt than there are kids available for adoption. Yet it's so hard for them to adopt that they're not capable of getting those children out of the system. So that's my point. Like a program like that, I would say the government should sponsor more. Like, take that fucking money away from Planned Parenthood, the millions upon millions that you give them, put it into a system where you're actually helping the kids that need a family. You're helping the family that want to take care of those kids. So this is why I think being in the middle makes sense, because you have kind of a mix of, yes, there's social services that should be canceled. We shouldn't have a welfare state. Canada has become a welfare state. So we need to bring that down to common sense programs that can help people. But I'm not saying that there shouldn't be any, right? But where do you find that just middle? And that's probably why you'll never be more of a conservative person, because you believe in those programs.
Well, I think that's actually, and again, this is, you touched on some really interesting points there I think are like right in the wheelhouse of this show. And I think that would be maybe an interesting topic we could do someday, to sort of show that maybe the audience might be surprised at how there could be some common ground. Because I bet you, if we actually dug into it, we would probably, because I agree, like the welfare state should not be so large that people can just live off the government teat forever. Not only just because it's bad fiscal policy, it's bad for people. It allows people to be comfortable, and if you allow people to be comfortable, they will be, but they won't be happy. Like we have a need for struggle. Like to live is to struggle, and that is a good thing. And so, in a lot of ways, we're actually doing people a disservice by giving them something that takes away the stress of, a lot of times it's you have to go out and get a job, and that's what pushes you to do it. I think, and I wouldn't be surprised if you broadly agree with me here, that I think almost everybody, most people have no problem helping someone who's down on their luck. You know what I mean? Most people have no issue, especially if it's a family, there's kids, someone lost a job. But what's lacking now is any sort of endpoint on a lot of these programs. You can get on, welfare or social assistance and just be on it for the rest of your life. Whereas there should be endpoint, like they should be geared towards getting you out. And if that means education, like if you're on social assistance and the government pays for a single mom to go back to school, great, for sure. She should do that, because at the end of the day, you're going to save a whole lot more money versus having her on social assistance over the course of her life. And then, once she gets a job and now she's paying taxes back. And so it's actually an investment, that kind of, social programs. And it's more, I think what the big problem is, and, I think there's a lot of liberals that would agree with this too, is that social programs have just become a lifestyle, and they're never meant to be like that. They should be designed to help people from really reaching the rock bottom, you know what I mean? And giving them a chance to pull themselves up, but they do have to pull themselves out. And you are, at the end of the day, you are helping them when you do that. Conservatives will talk a lot about like pull yourself up by the bootstraps. And that sounds sort of like old manish and you know what I mean? But there's something to be said for that. There's something to be said. I'm ex-military. When I retired, I had my pension. I didn't need to work. I was able to just sit at home and live off my pension. But like you said, that's not any way to live, right? You, as a man, you need to do things that are beyond, and it's more than just money. You have to have that thing that you do that you're good at, and there's a lot of value in that. And when we have this overly accessible welfare state that isn't even really designed to help people in tough times or help people from reaching rock bottom, it's more designed to just ensure whoever wants to can live a comfortable, lazy life. A lot of people will take you up on that when they otherwise might be out there living a much more satisfying and fulfilling life if they just had that initial push, right? So there's a lot of sort of meat on that bone to talk about. And the one other thing I did want to touch.
But hold on, before you just change subject, there's one thing that where you and I are probably going to disagree on, and I look at it from more of a traditional perspective. Why would it be the responsibility of the government to take care of other people when people like you and I could take care of other people? And to give you an example, this is something I don't create content about. I'm always wary about talking about this because I don't want to sound like I'm preaching or I'm trying to get likes for this, but I like to help others. I like to, even if it's serving food or there's a family around here that the mother has MS, so I try to help her anywhere I can because she has 3 kids and she's not operating properly, right? But to give you an example, last week there's a guy that I've helped in a soup kitchen before. I recognized the guy. I went to see him after the gym and I'm like, hey bro, is there something I can do for you? Like he's on the street, he's dirty as hell. And I'm like, do you need anything? And if he would have told me money, I would have said no. I would have just said like, yeah, no. But this is the point, right?
Yeah.
That's what people want from the government. You know what his answer was? I could really use a tent because his tent was destroyed. You know what I did? I went to buy him a tent. I gave him some baby wipes because he obviously doesn't have a shower. Do you know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
I did not.
You don't just give him a handout.
I did not enable him. I did not enable him, and I would never enable people.
Yeah.
But the fact that he asked for a tent, it's like you saying somebody that's a single parent, both men and women, I want to go back to school, but it's very hard for me to do so while I have a full-time job. Is there a program out there that could help me? Sure. Do you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
there are things, that's their tent, right? Here's your tent so that you can survive during that time. It shouldn't be easy on you. You should struggle.
Yes.
You should
yes.
understand that this is hard. It
Yep.
shouldn't be like, woo, you're sitting at home and no. You should
Yep.
still have
Yep.
to work. You should understand that there's a compromise there, but you're not going to die. You're
And
not
that's not
gonna
even
lose your
that's not
house.
about being cruel. That's actually
No.
being kind. Because
Yeah,
that
100%.
understands the human spirit, the human psyche, the
100%.
human condition. We need that. We need that struggle, that triumph. That is how we get fulfillment in life. And I think, you know, a lot of it's misguided, but a lot of these things are designed, if we just give people everything they need, they'll be happy. And it turns out that people are that's one way to make sure, like, it's no surprise or it's no coincidence that in the West we have sky high, you know, depression rates and anxiety and massive mental health problems, even though we're the richest we're the richest society in the world. If it's true that all it takes to make you happy is to have things, then we should be the happiest, and we are not. We're the most neurotic, we're the most anxious, we're the most depressed. And I think it's exactly about what you're talking about. We've gotten away, we've gotten, you know, too soft to say it, but we've gotten too comfortable, and we've gotten away from the things that make humans fulfilled and satisfied in life on big picture stuff, not just going out and having a good time. And actually, I think this is the intersection where there's a lot of, you know, there's a lot of discussion to be had for people like me and you, not even just me and you personally, but just people from our respective political persuasions, because there's a lot of common ground here, especially if, you know, you can tell just by talking, we broadly all want the same thing, right? We do want people to have happy, satisfied, fulfilling lives. It's just, what's the best way to go about doing that? And as a liberal, I've evolved on this. I still think, like you said, there is a role for the government to provide a backstop, you know, for the worst, so that so that rock bottoms are not happening, or to help with resources to help you, you know, let's say you need childcare so you can go back to school or something like those kind of social programs. I would say even most conservatives would probably be supportive of those. The problem is, you know, on the left, it's this idea now where, you know, if you question anything that's given to a poor person, you know, you're a bad person, you're cruel, you hate them, right? You hate the homeless or the unhoused or whatever the fuck they're called these days. But yeah, so I think, you know, I think there's a ton of there is a ton of sort of common ground there. And just about the children thing that you said, like, if nothing else, like you said, there should be very, and I wouldn't be surprised if this becomes sort of more of a talking point, even among the right. There should be very strong, robust social programs geared towards family, like having children and raising them, just based on the demographics. Like, we're all, you know, it's quite clear over the last year or two that the birth rate in Western industrialized countries is almost a long suicide. You know what I mean? Like, we will essentially die off if we do. Now, right now, up the last few years, the strategy to replace that has been immigration. Now, obviously, there is a role, obviously, for immigration too, to fill in the gaps, but you should be encouraging raising and growing children among your population. And if that means even things like government pays for IVF, like they do in Quebec, actually, I would be supportive of that. You know, if or some countries are starting to do tax breaks now, where if you have, like, it's like for every kid is like 25% off on your income tax, and if you have 4, you don't pay any
I
income
agree
tax.
with.
Yeah,
but this is even better. I don't agree with IVF, and that we can have a conversation about that later on, because that's a rabbit hole in itself. But this is even better. Instead of giving them money, giving them rebate.
Yeah,
because there's a massive difference. It's not a check that you're receiving in the mail. It's really you pay
more
less.
Money. Yeah.
This I agree with. Because I don't like the government taking my money and then giving back to me like it's a gift. Hey, asshole, that money was mine in the first place. So don't act like you're Santa Claus here. Because
look how generous I am. Wasn't that my money?
Trudeau's very good at that. Very, very good in Canada at that. There's one more thing. We're running out of time, but there's one more thing I wanted to do. I wanted to give a Gaza update. I had a few videos I wanted to play. You had one that I wanted to talk about. Maybe we can address it with Jason tomorrow. But this is just an update from Trump. Let's listen to what he's saying, and We'll discuss it tomorrow. We'll leave you on that, maybe.
Yeah.
Just to piss you off a bit before the show ends, and then we'll talk about it.
Mr. President, you said before that the U.S. would buy Gaza, and today you just said we're not going to buy Gaza.
We're not going to have to buy. We're going to have Gaza. We don't have to buy. There's nothing to buy.
We're just going to take it.
We will have Gaza.
What does that mean?
No reason to buy. There is nothing to buy. It's Gaza. It's a war-torn area. We're going to take it. We're going to hold it. We're going to cherish it. We're going to get it going eventually, where a lot of jobs are going to be created for the people in the Middle East. It's going to be for the people in the Middle East, but I think it can be a diamond. It can be an absolute tremendous asset for the Middle East. And you're going to have peace. It's going to bring peace in the Middle East. Gaza, the way it is right now, every 10 years, you're going to have the same thing happening. I've watched it so long.
He's right.
All the death and destruction of Gaza. The civilization's been wiped out in Gaza. No, it's going to be a tremendous thing. It's fronting on the sea. It's going to be a great economic development.
You know what makes me laugh about Trump is that there's a couple of things in there that he said is right. The population there gets destroyed. Whose fault is that? That's the follow-up question. Then you're like, oh, it's beautiful beach property. Why? Shut up. Don't say that. Don't say that out loud like you're trying to help the people, and you're like, he cannot help himself from being a business guy, right? Did you notice that? Like, he's sounding like a real estate developer. This is a beautiful thing. It's going to give jobs to, but he's right in the fact. There's one thing I got to agree with him. Rebuilding Gaza and unfortunately removing the Palestinians will remove a lot of the war that's going on in that country. Now, is that right or wrong? I'm not agreeing, nor am I disagreeing. I think both sides are wrong in this situation. Is there a way for them to live together? I don't know, because it seems like every fucking 10 years, like he said, it gets destroyed again. So it's funny how Trump's very good at that. He says a lot of truth, but then he can't stop himself from sounding like a business guy. So you're like, okay, do you mean this, or you're just fucking selling me something?
Can you assure us that you won't take the land and redevelop it? He's like, no, I won't. But it's some beautiful property, isn't it? Well, why would you say that? Why would you add that at the end?
So, let's leave it there, because we can analyze this till we're blue in the face. But I agree with some of the things that he says. I disagree with others. It's just the way he sells it is so fucking weird. It's just weird. It's just weird. And we'll leave it with a message from Miriam saying, I can't write an article here. Maybe we can discuss it more when you start having guests on the show. We are going to start having guests on the show next week with Maxime Bernier. Hey, here's the perfect segue. Hey-o. We're next Tuesday, February 18th.
What
noon Eastern.
Sorry,
but hold on. Let me
go ahead. Yes, I know.
The show for next week. Hold on. This is going to become a daily thing. Okay, now he's muted, so I just muted Rob. It's all good. We're better for it. February 18th, next week, Maxime Bernier, the leader of the People's Party of Canada, is going to be on the show live with us. So if you want to have a different perspective than the liberal and the conservative in Canada, make sure to join us. If you have questions, ask them, because we will pick a question from the public. That sounds so weird to say. We're going to pick one of your questions to ask Maxime Bernier. So we'll see what it is. But if you want to see a different story to Canadian politics, join us next week, February 18th. That's Tuesday, noon Eastern, just like we do here.
Yep. And I think that was good. You did the plug, and like you said, we're gonna plug that at the end of every episode. But I think maybe at some point, we'll have where we'll get people who are gauging a lot in the show. Maybe we'll get them to come on and shoot the shit. Like maybe that'll be a thing that we do on a Monday or Tuesday or something.
On Fridays.
Yeah. And then because it's kind of cool. You can I mean, this is the first time I've ever done a podcast, but you kind of get the sense where you form some connection with some of the audience, especially if they're talking to you every day, right? So it'd be kind of cool to have them on the show. Again, I apologize for the technical difficulties. Don't worry, I will not hear the end of it, I'm sure, from both my co-host and my girlfriend. So there will be amends will be made. But thanks a lot for tuning in today and for your engagement, Miriam, of course, and everyone else who commented. Tomorrow, we will have friend of the show, what's Jason's last name?
I'm not even going to try to say it because I destroy it every time. We're going to just say Jason.
We'll have Jason.
Is going to be there tomorrow. He was supposed to be here today, but he's in a storm right now. So he didn't think he could make it. But before we let you go, if you like the show, make sure to like and follow and share our content at Poly Orphans, at the Poly Orphans on both X and YouTube. Make sure to like, subscribe, share. If you know somebody that should watch this show, you should let them know. You should share our content so that they know. But on that note, we'll see you tomorrow. Peace.